Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer. I am the host of Own Your Wellness, and welcome to fall, everyone. It's like 83 degrees in Southern California right now, so it doesn't much feel like fall. And I have to give a shout out because today is my dad's birthday. He turned 78. I can't believe that he's that old because I'm only 30, so he has to be like 60. So time flies when you're living life. Anyway, I'm excited about today's guest. He's an amazing person, a beautiful soul. He has so many accomplishments and his hand in a lot of different things. But the through line, the thing that makes him so special, well, one of the things is that he is very dedicated in helping other people achieve their dreams and just helping people live their best life because he knows what it's like to be without. So without further ado, let me introduce Frank Sinclair. Hello, welcome to the show, Frank.
Well, thank you, Julie. You are just amazing.
Thank you so much. I am so glad to have you here. I have been looking forward to this conversation since the first time we spoke. So, yay. So, I would just love to start off with you sharing a little bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
Well, thank you. Yes, you are looking at a poor kid from the southern North Carolina. I was raised in abject poverty. And as a sharecropper, actually, my parents finished 6th and 8th grade respectively. I'm the second of 15 children. So, and I was raised in segregation. So when I was coming up, our schools didn't integrate until I was in 8th grade. So I love your opening, Julie, of your show because it does show the wide range of wellness and health and how one can be healthy. I was an incredibly shy guy. No one knows that today, but that was true. I was 4 feet 10 inches tall when I was a sophomore in high school. So I was the shortest kid in school. And so I didn't have a social life. I didn't fit in my community. Obviously didn't fit outside because that wasn't allowed where I lived. And so I came up with the inherent feeling that I was less than other people, that was just simply my lot in life. And even though I was a good student in school, no one told me college was a destination for good students. So when I was 18 years old, I joined the Air Force to escape my upbringing. That you want me to go on, Julie?
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I mean, I know that I've heard this, but I just think your story is amazing. I'd love for you to share more.
Yeah, indeed. So Air Force was kind of nirvana for me. I came in and it was the first time I'd had someone without different melanin in their skin than me as a friend in my entire life. When I was in the Air Force, I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. This was my first duty assignment when I was 18 years old. And people, for the first time, looked at me as an equal, as someone that could actually move the needle forward, whose life mattered. And that was an outside. I just received all this and it was so awesome. And I just couldn't believe that people thought that I, this poor immigrant sharecropping kid from North Carolina who could barely speak English well, was worthy of the attention that I got. I won an incredible amount of awards when I was young in the Air Force. Spent 8 years in the Air Force, ended up in Japan. In my 7th year, I became the second youngest person in my rank in the entire Air Force. My movement was swift. But you know what? Success has a way of unveiling things in humans. And what it unveiled in me was a deep-seated unbelief that I was worthy of the things that I was accomplishing. So I sabotaged my Air Force career between years 7 and 8, fell off the wagon so badly that they wouldn't let me stay in. So my best laid plans of a drunk was that I just marry my Japanese girlfriend and stay in Japan. And thankfully for her, that didn't unfold. I was not very marriage worthy at that time, that's for sure. I was 26 years old and I had to come back to the States to discharge. You can't discharge on foreign soil. So when I came back, I went to North Carolina and I said bye to my family. I'm heading back to Japan. And I decided, just had a wild hair, I'm going to come back to Colorado one last time on my way back to Japan, and I holed up in an old motel down on South Nevada here. And for 3 weeks, I went and did what any respectable drunk would do. I went out and got blitzed every night. And I was a life of the party. If you were anywhere near me, you were getting blitzed too. So I woke up 3 weeks later in that motel. I'd blown all my money, and I became a homeless guy in the streets here in Colorado Springs. And for really one of the first times in my life, I thought I'd found my true tribe. And I integrated myself into the homeless community. I became a leader there, and that was my reintroduction at 26 to Colorado Springs.
That's quite an introduction.
Hey, you have to think about this, though. All right, let's put aside all of the shame and all of the assumptions about homelessness for a minute and think about the positives. There was no mortgage. There was no phone bills, no car payments.
This is true. Oh my goodness.
You got to reframe it a little bit, Julie. And I was going, wow, this is pretty cool. You know, sleeping underneath a bush every day, sunning and funning, going out and smoking marijuana and drinking during the night. We would always find a way to get marijuana and drink, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, it runs kind of rampant in the homeless, at least my homeless community. And then after about 6 months in the homelessness, this guy had the nerve to walk through the park, stop by and ask me to tell my story to him. And I'm like, and I said, why do you want to know my story? He says, you just don't look like the typical homeless guy. I've seen you over the months. There's something different about you. Tell me. And I told him my story, and he grabbed me by the arm and took me home with him. At 26, amazing. And it changed my life.
And now you're paying it forward.
Well, I think that whatever we go through, and part of our wellness journey, if you will, if you're going to get healthy between your ears, that the reason that we go through challenges in life is so that we can learn to serve humans in the very challenge that we go through. So that was the deal. If you don't get that, then it'll be a cycle of going round and round in the same spaces, trying to grow and develop as a human being in whatever space that you're in. That's the point. Humanity is the point. So if there's any other reason to go through things or to build platforms or to do well in society or even make money, right? It is so that we can uplift and strengthen the communities that we're in, and that we can find other Julie Myers and Frank Sinclairs out there and infuse some hope in them. And to me, hope is a foundation of life. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are or even how well your EQ is. If you don't have an infusion of hope, you will not move forward in life and become what you were designed to be.
That is very well said. I just think about how there are so many people out there that would love to have my problems. Every time I feel like complaining, I think, there's somebody out there wishing they were where I was. So what do I, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things too, my life is not bad and it never has been. So the only thing that made it negative were my thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Because life happens. It's just things happen. And then we make judgments about these things that happen. And so, no, I love that idea that hope is a foundation.
Absolutely. That's why in our practice, we teach the HQ or hope quotient, because we believe that there's exercises, there's things that you can do every morning that you can get up and intentionally design hope into your life. And then when you go out to face the world, you are attracting hopeful or hopeless situations where you can help change the life of another human being and make a difference in someone's life. What brings more joy than that, right? You were just talking about people would like. I always tell people there is no comparison because there's only one Julianne Meyer. You are absolutely incredibly amazing. I'll have a hard time even accepting these compliments that I'm giving you. I've never seen a woman yet or a person yet that, oh, yes, thank you. Yes, that's true about me. Yes, absolutely. Right.
That's accurate.
But whether you accept it or not, as I tell my clients, I'm the one that's telling the truth in this conversation. And what you're hearing, contrary to what I'm saying, is not the truth. So the truth is, there's no possible way that Julie Ann Meyer could be the only Julie Ann Meyer, that Julie Ann Meyer on earth, and that not be incredible. That's impossible. It's not, it's unimaginable that that could be. What creates value? Scarcity does. If you have a diamond that's the only one on earth, it's going to be more valuable than the one that has 10,000 duplicates, right? Scarcity creates value. You know, if you're that scarce, then you're valuable just by being. That's the starting point.
That's a really, it makes me think of the saying that either everything is a miracle or nothing is, and like that you get to choose. So, it's pretty amazing that we're even just on this planet hurtling through space.
It is amazing. And there's a purpose for that. And if we follow, Julie, the natural course of our story, if we are brave enough, because it takes courage, because there's been some painful and some shaming and a lot of other negative adjectives that we can throw in along the way. That's what causes people not to want to look back, because of the pain. And they think, well, I'm going to have to experience that again. Yes, that's why it takes bravery to be able to look back. But you can't go forward well unless you're willing to look back, because all of those steps along the way were building you for the forwardness that's incumbent upon you showing up in the world with, right?
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. And, you and I were talking the other day about how we wouldn't change our lives because we wouldn't be who we are if everything that has happened didn't happen the way, or the way we wanted it
to. We got rescued from those things. So.
It's fascinating too to think, some of the hardest things that I know that I've been through have really made it possible for me to be there for other people in a way that wouldn't have been possible, or, to even show up differently for future events in my life that I wouldn't have handled well if it hadn't been for things that happened already. I just feel like life is happening for you.
It is. You and I wouldn't be here tonight and have the opportunity to talk to all the incredible human beings that may be dialing in tonight to talk about this subject, even if your experiences hadn't led you to this path that created these opportunities for other humans like me to come and be exposed to other humans. That's what it's about. It's not, I don't want someone to leave our message tonight and go, oh, isn't that Frank Sinclair so great? Why don't you think in terms of, a lot of people say, wow, I sure would love to live your life today. Would you be willing to go through my experience?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. No one wants those experiences, but everyone wants the outcome. And that's ridiculous in space, because we hurt people when we arrive at what we call in America success points without the challenge of overcoming stuff on the way. It's a perfect setup to hurt other human beings. And that should never be the outcome of our movements.
Exactly. And I think too that, if you happen to magically succeed without becoming that person that created it, you're not going to keep it. It doesn't last. It's a recipe all around for disaster. So
it is. And sadly, you read about those people that have hung themselves or committed to. I'm not making light of these things. These are horrific things that happen. And you go, oh my, they had everything. Why would they kill themselves? And you look at teenage suicide, and most of the time it's not happening in the communities of poor kids. It's typically happening in the community of kids of wealth. and kids that have means, because they have everything that our culture tells them should make them happy, and they're still miserable. So the next thing to do is those horrible things that happen in people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep on thinking too about that saying. I don't know if it was George Carlin, but it's the idea, and I'm going to mess it up a little bit, but you'll understand what I'm getting at. It's that idea, it's like looking for happiness outside of yourself is like slapping sandwiches on your body because you're hungry. It's not going to do the same thing.
Sounds like George Carlin.
Yeah. I mean, I messed it up a little bit, but you get the idea. That's not how you feed yourself, emotionally, spiritually, or even physically. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I want to pop up your website so that people do have an opportunity to learn more about you, because you have so many things that you have your fingers in, and so many wonderful things to even mention. But I know that you have a book coming out. So can we talk about that for a second?
Indeed, yes. Thank you for mentioning that, Julie. We're dropping a book next week that's called Your Personal Business Coach. It's the second in a series of 10 books that we're publishing on the coaching modality. Next one is going to be Your Personal Health Coach. And we're hoping that Julie would join us in that volume. Actually, you heard it here first. Yeah. So, and what it is we recruit coaches around the country to be included in the book, so that we can get perspectives of different business coaches this time around. Myself and a young lady named Lisa Laverne are the main authors in the book. We have 10 contributors in every book as well. Think chicken soup for the soul for coaching. That's really what we're aiming at. And we're going to next week, the second one. The first book was Your Personal Life Coach. That was published last October. This one is Your Personal Business Coach, as we continue in this series to helping people to be coached from the comfort of their couch or anywhere that they read on Amazon.
Perfect. That was my next question. People can find the books on Amazon, but also I'm assuming that there's a link through your website as well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, if there isn't, there will be after the show. That's for sure.
I love that. I think that's amazing. I like this idea of the anthology and breaking it down for people. And the chicken soup for the soul. I actually met Jack Canfield a couple of times. He's an amazing person and a wonderful speaker. But, I like the idea of that he never gave up, and he just kept going and going, and look how big it turned into. So what are your thoughts about hearing no in the beginning of something?
Hearing no?
Yeah, because a lot of people hear no and stop.
Yeah. No to me means simply not now. Right? Or not this direction. And maybe it's a time to pivot to something else. There's no such thing. Why accept that? Why even let that be a narrative in your journey or your life? It's just another opportunity for you. Sometimes you have to go back to the blackboard and say, you know what, we need to reframe this, because the way it's framed right now is not consumable. There's some people that can help us along the way. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not failure. Failure is when you stop.
Yeah.
Not when you get no. So think of that as an opportunity to refine your craft and refine what it is that you were put on earth for. Do you know what you were put on earth to do? It's funny, Julie, that people tell me they're passionate about things. But when I tell them the root word of passion is passio, P-A-S-S-I-O, which is the Latin word for suffering, suddenly they're not as passionate, right?
Maybe not.
Maybe not, right? Yeah, that's why Mel Gibson's movie was entitled The Passion of the Christ. It was the suffering of the Christ. That's where the root word came from. And if passion, if you tell someone you're passionate about something, that means you're willing to fall on the sword for that ideal and that idea. And you're ready to go to the nth degree to make sure that that happens. Whatever challenge that comes in your way, you're going to work your way through it because there is no plan B for something that a person is passionate about.
I really like that. I just keep on thinking about certain times where in my life where I've burned bridges on purpose so that I couldn't go back.
Tell us a story, Julie.
I was just like, I can't have the opportunity to backtrack. Never in a mean way, I have to admit. It was never mean, but I definitely made it impossible for me to make that choice again.
Sometimes that happens in a mean way. Sometimes we really, words have meanings, and sometimes when you're passionate about things, people are going to interpret you're breaking off certain relationships as being mean or stopping certain engagements as being mean. If they're standing in the way, and good always gets in the way of best. It really does, or great. And a lot of good things come your way when you're unwrapping something great.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have enough discernment to know, oh, I see through this. It's just a trap that stopped my momentum on my way to great. You have to turn down some things and go know that they're not the best for you. You know how many people reach out to people like Julie and I today because we have huge platforms. This young lady is doing incredible work. Yes, indeed. You're welcome, guys. I say that for you.
I'll take it. I receive
it. She is doing incredible work. And, just a quick plug. Her and I are in an organization that we're going to be joining together in. And I'm so excited about meeting you in October and having an opportunity to just see how your work continues, because you're just amazing in your space.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person as well. And the group, for everybody who's watching, that we're talking about is Achieve Systems, and it's based on, well, actually it's expanding, but it started with health and wellness, and now it's expanding. It's entrepreneurs just in general. So we can answer your questions about that too if you have any.
Yes, we can. Yeah, because they let me in, so they had to drop the full health and wellness stuff.
Well, I would say living your purpose is the ultimate wellness.
Bravo, Julie. Bravo.
I mean, I can't even tell. I've shared this story before, but I love it so much. Is I used to work in a pharmacy, in a long-term care pharmacy. And that means that we used to put together the prescriptions for, nursing homes and things like that. So we would do blister packing, which means, when you pop the pills out, like your cold pills out of that thing, I used to, seal those things for nursing homes. Anyway, I'm standing there next to the machine and this other woman, and I look over her and I say, do you realize that we spend most of our waking hours standing in this one spot? And she quit. She said, we remained friends. And she said, when you said that, I thought about it. And I thought, I do not want to be spending most of my waking hours in this one spot. So it's, and, it's all about, that wasn't her purpose. And she did, how can you be healthy if you're not living your truth?
Yep.
So,
yes. And finding the purpose is a very difficult thing. A lot of people say, I just want to be me, which sounds good, right? But the problem is most people don't know what that means. Who are you, right? How are you going to be you when you really don't even know who you are? And then the self-discovery of finding out who you are, a lot of times it can get discouraging along the way because there's just humans. If don't make it any more than that. You're just a human. You've made mistakes. You've done things that you've regretted. We move on. We explore those things that we do well. We concentrate on our strengths. 95% of my time is spent on the things I do well. I only spend 5% of my time on my weaknesses, right? But
Yep.
most time I'm handing them off to someone else anyway. Well, they're weak. I want someone doing them that's strong. Right? So,
Yeah. Plus, they probably like doing it. So
exactly. Right. Why would you do things that you hate to do? That can't be involved in a purpose. So, you know, find those things that you find out who you are, first of all. Be willing to dig down at the very root and the core. Those things that have sidetracked and sabotaged you along the way, be brutally honest about those things. Because if you don't grow to the space that you can really navigate them, because they're going to come back to bite you again.
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very honest about who you are, what you've done, you know, and if you can reconcile any relationships along the way. I'm sorry aren't two bad words. They really aren't, right? And reconciling and getting it right with other humans. I can say I'm over 60, so it took me a long time to get here. But there's not one person on earth today that I have a problem with. Not
That's
one.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. On that note, because I think that's a beautiful place, but we do need to go to commercial. So we're going to be back in just a moment, okay?
Alrighty.
For those of you who are watching us live, thank you for being here. We always appreciate it. Feel free to leave us a comment if you so desire. But as I mentioned, it is time for those commercials. So we will be right back in just a moment.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, our guest today is Frank Sinclair. Let's bring him back. Well, Go ahead. Have your drink. Have your drink. Gotcha.
Cheers.
Hey, I've got mine too, so we're good.
All right, huh?
So anyway, during the commercial break, I was thinking about what it takes, because to actually dream big and to actually go for something that you really truly want, because there's so much of that self-doubt, and I'm sure that there's shame involved somewhere, because we're adults at some point. So there's something there holding. There's always a lot of reasons not to, or a lot of reasons to stop in our minds, not necessarily in reality, but we tend to stop ourselves. I mean, you and I have in common, we are drinking. Like that stopped me dead. Almost killed me, honestly. So I really, needed help getting to know who I was and who I wanted to be and what my dreams were. And, there's a saying in AA that, we're as sick as our secrets, which I really like, because if you keep something, it's just going to fester and it doesn't seem so big if you tell the right person. Not that you share with everybody, but you got to tell the right person. But also there's a saying of being a grateful alcoholic. And I never really understood that for the longest time until I realized when you hit that rock bottom, you are forced to look at yourself at some point, if you're willing to make a change anyway. And not everybody gets there because they don't have that sort of rock bottom. But what would you say for somebody who, what do you see as something that's common to stop people in their tracks?
Well, lack of self-awareness, first of all, an inability to make appropriate relationships with humans that can tell them the truth. Secondly, right?
That's an important one.
Yeah, it is. We run from truth. We're in denial. So all of those things stop us, and a lot of history that we're unwilling to face on. You say, how do we level up? Well, the number one way that you level up in your life and in your business is taking 100% responsibility for your movement. Movement in life, movement in business. That means there is no one else to point a finger at. It's totally on you. And when you can do that, oh my God, it's so freeing to know that you have responsibility for your life. And we live in a victim space and cultures, and people even get mad at me for saying that. Well, I am a victim. Well, that doesn't mean you have to live as a victim. Exactly. We've all been victimized to some degree, right? But we have to make the choice whether we're going to be able to move forward and grab hold of possibilities. And no one can do that alone. You mentioned someone coming into your life as well and telling you some things in the midst of your struggles. Nobody does it alone. That's the number two point of leveling up. You have to have great people in your life and in your tribe to be able to level up to the degree that you want to.
I think that that's really important because, there's a saying that personal trainers say is, I can't do your push-ups for you. But that, and that's true. Like nobody else can do the work for me, but that doesn't mean I do it alone. That doesn't mean I'm not taught how. It doesn't mean I don't have cheerleaders and people, helping me along the way and making a difference. So yeah, we don't live on an island by ourselves.
No, I don't know. And kind of, I am a proud American. Let me say that. I'm not here waving a flag or trying to throw patriotism into someone's face. But I am, and I know our country is a great experiment. We came together because we came from so many different places, right? It was a genius of our country to have that. Did we treat each other rightly? Of course we did, but I'm no one's victim. No one's victim. I'm only someone's victor. There's been people in my life that have uplifted me and given me opportunities, and I recognize that. And I also recognize I do none of the things that I do in life alone. So we have to really swallow the pride, be humble about the point that our existence, our gifts, and our opportunities, you didn't earn them. You didn't make them. They were really just given to you. That's what a gift is. It was given to you. You either open it or you leave it tied up and wrapped up and unused, or you can just take it and go for it to the greatest degree possible. And other people are the only way that can help you get.
Something else that I was thinking about was that, when you were growing up, you had what is not a typical experience at this point in time because, well, I mean, there's still issues, but, you were basically taught that you were less than. And, a lot of people who don't have that same experience still feel that way. So it's,
mind-boggling, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And it just, I mean, speaking with you, I'm just thinking, it's still, I mean, it's still a choice at this point for anyone to feel that way, because nobody can make you feel anything. I know it seems,
Yeah.
but, you know, I always use the example of, you know, I used to get really angry all the time when I'm driving and say somebody would cut me off. But if I just won $1 million, I wouldn't care if somebody cut me off or not. So it's really not them that's upsetting me.
Yeah. They're just triggering what's already there. That's what's
Exactly.
happening. Yeah. Listen, humans are much too complicated for Julie and I to sit on this show tonight and solve all human issues and problems. We understand that everyone listening has had a complex journey, and the way that the outcomes of those complex journeys affected you differently than it did your neighbor or someone else. Even with shared experiences, they affect us differently, right? And both Julie and I are cognizant of that. We're sensitive to that. But at the same time, you want answers. And you have to really look at yourself and go, really, do I want answers? Or have I become so satisfied in my space of victimhood or whatever it is that keeps me from going forward? I really don't want answers. I just want a reason to continue in life the way it is. And if that's what you want, probably wrong show, because we're not going to give you that. We're going to tell you there's a way out. If you really want to grow, if you really want to become all that you want to be, all that you were designed to be, but you really don't even know what you want to be, probably. But there's a design for you that's specific for you with an outcome that only you can do. And that means hard work and hard reflection and hard truth to get there.
And I think a lot of people are scared of the word hard.
Hard mic.
Work. That's was it 4 letters? Yeah, it's a 4-letter word.
4-letter word.
But, you know, I think you bring up a valid point that, and I don't think a lot of people who are struggling, you know, with being the victim, you know, like you said, it's not that we're not saying you weren't victimized, but it's your choice to camp there. And the thing that I always think about is the people that have been a part of victimizing me, they don't think about me. They're not sitting there wondering how I'm doing. They've never given me a second thought. So why am I living my life under their thumb still? Like, no.
Yeah. But you have to sit in that space and think about that to come to those conclusions. You have to become very real about that situation. Say, you know what, it's on me. And Julie's so right. I know many of my Caucasian, I can't say friends because I never got to know them, right? When I was coming up, acquaintances, right? It was simply, I frame it this way, and other people look at, well, then this happened to you, you were victimized. They call you the N-word all the time. They made you feel like you were less a human being than they were, and et cetera. That was the culture of the time that we lived in. I'm not trying to excuse it, but it was what it was. And I don't move culture forward by staying in the places of pain. My obligation to humanity is to become the very best Frank Sinclair that I can become. And when I do that, then I'm going to help other people rise to become the best human being that they can become. And you notice that no one in culture uses the word love very much. It's almost like, you know, you've cursed someone's mom if you say love, right? There's a lot of pain associated with the word.
Another 4-letter word.
No, it is a 4-letter word. I mean, you could curse someone before you could say you love them, and it'll be accepted quicker, right? And I know there's a lot of pain associated with that word. If you unwrap it rightly, it's really the only word that moves humanity forward. And it can't be different. If you can't learn to love and be loved, you're going to stay straitjacket in a space of pain and suffering all of your life.
Exactly. Something I was thinking about that when you were talking about, trying to explain to your white friends about where how you view things. And I just kept thinking, because you in particular love people so much that you want to help them. It's like the idea of just understanding that people do the best they can at the time. You can't punish somebody for not knowing better.
Right.
Now it's different, but back then that's just how it was. And they didn't know better. It was acceptable. It was, and it's like, I think back too about my mom and things and some of the stuff that, I felt like for the longest time she wronged me, she should have, but she did the best she could. Let it go, girl. That was a million years ago. Why would I be upset and bring myself down now over something that happened years and years ago?
Yeah.
A lifetime ago, literally.
Absolutely. When I walked by my dad's casket is when I realized I still had all this angst and pain and unforgiveness towards him, because we weren't allowed to show those emotions. No strong man would cry. How dare you even think about it? And in our culture, you surely was not going to say anything negative back to your parent, because that was a whooping.
Even for me.
That was not the space you wanted to be in, right? And plus, you felt, or in the Black culture, at least in the South, you felt like your elders deserved the respect and the dignity from the younger culture, simply because they were elders, regardless of what they did. And I'm not speaking ill of my dad or anything. I don't want to dishonor him, because my dad loved me. He loved me the best way that he knew how. And the best way that he knew how in the moment was the beating of my mother, neglect of us, going with other ladies and doing those types of things. That's what he knew. It's not that he intentionally came out of the womb. I'm going to grow up to be a cheater, a beater, and a deserter, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't his intention.
No.
He wanted to do better, but he didn't know better, as Maya Angelou says. When you know better, do better.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
And if you don't,
one more thing that I feel really compelled to share for whatever reason is the idea of going back to like being the victim thing. And this is a really good analogy that I was told a long time ago. And it was that, somebody might TP your yard. Was it fair that they did it? No, but nobody else is going to clean it up for you. It's in your yard. So you got to clean up your space. Whether or not it was right, it's still your responsibility to clean up your yard. So It is what it is,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, for your fans that are listening to us tonight, I'd like to recommend a book by Ian Rowe called Agency. And he's a brilliant Black professor out of New York City that works in the school system there. And he talks about victimhood, and it really sets a touch point of how someone in the trenches looks at it, and how we should have a different mindset about all of those things. And that's why we can't come together as a nation, because why would my young people, are you mad because of what I went through? Or I'm still trying to figure it out. Help me understand this, right? I'm the guy that went through it, right? And you're mad. So
I'm not, but you are. Yep.
Yeah, so help me understand that, because really, whatever you look for, you find. If you're looking
Yes.
for racism, you're going to find it. If you're looking for slights, you're going to find it. If you're going to look for people wronging you, you're going to find it. Whatever you look for, you will find. So start looking for stuff that is positive. Start looking for good stuff. Instead of bad stuff, your life will reflect that.
Well, plus that's when your reticular activating system kicks in and your brain starts catching those things naturally. So why not pick something, fabulous to look for, and then you'll start noticing more and more of that. I mean, obviously that's what you're talking about, but it works. It absolutely works.
Yep. I spent my day. Yeah. I had a long day. I was doing a commercial this morning at 7:30 here in Colorado Springs, and had to get up. And when you get, I don't know how this flips. So when you get older, you sleep worse. When you're younger, you sleep longer and better. So what's that about? Somebody having something to complain about.
I love it.
But we were out doing that work this morning, and I was looking, and I looked at my calendar, and I said, oh my, when I get to talk to Julianne Meyer tonight. Isn't that so cool? Now I could frame it this way. Gosh, I am so tired. I've had a long day. Now I got to go home and do a podcast with this young lady that I really don't even know, and et cetera, and try to regurgitate some of the stuff, and et cetera. I was like, no, I get to go home, turn on my computer because of the wonders of technology, talk to this amazing young lady in California, see her smiling and her joy and et cetera, and it's going to infuse something over the airways in me, and my day's going to be better. And it happened exactly like that.
You spoke it into existence. I love that idea too. Because it's like that for me too. You make yourself miserable, you make yourself happy. This amount of work is the same. All these sayings, there's truth behind them.
Yep, they're not just cliches. It's true.
They are not. I mean, yeah, that's true. They're not just cliches, but I really do believe that, because it's like, as soon as I start to get negative, I'm thinking, well, I'm doing it anyway. So why don't I change my attitude about it so I enjoy it while I'm doing it?
Exactly.
Exactly. I never feel like brushing my teeth at night, but I still do it.
And it shows.
Exactly. And it's like, I can sit there and be upset, or I could go without teeth. I mean, I think I choose teeth.
I love food, and teeth are
I'd like to be able to chew it. My pictures wouldn't look the same without them,
For real. Let's do a little vanity in there at the same time, right?
So we're actually almost out of time. We've got a few minutes left. I'm just curious, what are some, final thoughts that you'd love to leave with the audience, or maybe something that you said before that you want to reiterate, or something brand new? It's up to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julie. We have so much fun, don't we? Someone has to have fun. Might as well be us, right?
Exactly. It is contagious too. So
I would love to leave. And it's really one of the ways that I always leave people. We laugh a lot, and her and I, and I'm glad. And I'll never apologize for my joy, because it's hard won and hard fought for joy that I have in my life today, and that I really want to see in the lives of other human beings. So I'm thinking differently about you. There's a movie years ago, we still watch it every Christmas. It's called It's a Wonderful Life. And what a great, great movie. And I want you to think about, in your downtime, what if you had never been born? What if you had never been a part of a lot of people's stories that you've impacted? How many negative things could have happened from the lack of your existence here on earth? It'll reframe your way of thinking. It'll reframe the reason for your existence. It'll reframe. If you have kids, if you have relatives, if you have coworkers or people in your tribe that you influence in a positive way, what would happen? What would have happened if you had never been born? You see, it's been a wonderful life. It has. And the wonderful didn't start when I began a company called Dream Again, or when I married my wife, or my 3 C-suite executive children were born or became successful. It was a wonderful life, the whole trip. I didn't recognize it all the time. Now, in reflection, I can look back and know it's been a wonderful life. And I believe the same is true for you. And if you begin to think along those terms of how important it is that our earth has you, then that will reframe the way that you think and live life. We love you here, and we thank you for being born and being a part of our existence on earth. Don't ever neglect that, and never take for granted the wonders of your life and you being you.
Oh, that's beautiful. It makes me feel a little emotional, actually, when you say it like that. That's, whew, God bumps. I got the God bumps. Not
Not
goosebumps,
goosebumps,
God
God. Yes. Indeed.
Before we go, one last quick, what was the name of your book that's coming out again?
Yeah, your personal your personal business coach. See, that's what happens when you set up 10 books in a row. You forget where you are. Yeah, your personal business coach should be available next Friday, September 30th, on Amazon. Just put my name in, Frank Sinclair, and the books will pop up. And if you want to know my life story, my first book was Dream Again, Lessons on Leveraging Your Pain. And it gives you an opportunity to understand how the pain points are the point.
Ooh, that's beautiful too. Oh, well, Frank, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this since we first talked because I knew that today would be awesome. I myself got up way too early. So I know 4:30 for me. So I totally understand that idea of, I could look at this like I've got this whole day that's full, but this is the bright spot. So
Me too. Me too.
Thank you so much.
You're
And
very
hopefully you'll be back on the show again. That would be fabulous.
Yes, indeed. You and I have some wonderful things coming up in the future together. So, who knows, right?
Exactly. Well, Frank, thank you again, and we'll see you again soon.
You bet.
And that is all the time that we have for today. I'm trying to remember what day of the week it is because it's been one of those kinds of weeks. So I do remember finally. We will see you all again on Monday. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you then.